Jake Morrison pressed his face against the transport window and watched Kepler Station grow larger in the darkness of space. The massive orbital facility looked like a small metal city floating among the stars. Lights blinked along its curved surfaces, and ships moved in and out of the docking bays like tiny insects. Jake had never seen anything so big made by thinking beings. The young man from Colorado took a deep breath and tried to calm his nerves. 6 months ago, he was working on his family's ranch, fixing fences and feeding cattle. Now he was traveling to the most important military academy in the galaxy. Earth had joined the Galactic Federation only 2 years earlier, and Jake was part of the first group of human cadets ever accepted to the academy. "First time seeing a space station?" asked Lisa Parker, the girl sitting next to him. She was also from Earth, from a city called Boston. Lisa had short brown hair and smart green eyes that seemed to notice everything around her. "Yeah," Jake said. "You? My dad worked on space freighters, so I grew up around this stuff. But nothing this big," Lisa pointed at the station. "They say it holds 50,000 people from 30 different worlds." Jake tried to imagine meeting beings from 30 different planets. On Earth, meeting someone from another country was exciting. This was going to be completely different. The transport ship moved into one of the docking bays. Through the window, Jake could see other ships from across the galaxy. Some looked like Earth ships with smooth metal hulls and rocket engines. Others were strange shapes that hurt his eyes to look at. One ship looked like it was made of living coral, with no visible engines at all. "Attention passengers," said the ship's computer in a voice that sounded almost human. "We have arrived at Kepler Station. Please gather your belongings and prepare for docking procedures." Jake picked up his single bag. Everything he owned for the next 4 years fit inside it. The academy would provide uniforms, equipment, and everything else he needed. He just had to bring himself and hope that was enough. The docking process took 20 minutes. When the transport finally connected to the station, Jake felt a slight bump and heard the hiss of air systems connecting. A door opened, and he got his first smell of alien air. It was clean and metallic, with a faint scent he could not identify. Jake and Lisa walked through a long metal corridor with other new cadets. Most of them were human, but Jake saw a few alien beings mixed in with the group. A tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms walked past them, carrying 2 bags in each hand. Its eyes were large and black, and it moved with smooth steps that made no sound. "Villani," Lisa whispered to Jake. "They can read minds a little bit." Jake tried not to think about anything embarrassing. They entered a large room with hundreds of other new cadets. Jake stopped walking and stared. He had read about alien races in his preparation materials, but seeing them in person was different. Near the front of the room stood a group of beings that looked like walking lizards. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with dark green scales covering their bodies. Muscles bulged under their scaled skin, and their hands ended in sharp claws. These had to be the Drachneri, the warrior race that controlled several star systems. On the other side of the room, Jake saw creatures that looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. They had 4 arms, large compound eyes, and mouth parts. It clicked when they talked. The Zephyrians were supposed to be the smartest tacticians in the galaxy. There were other species too. Some looked almost human except for their pale skin and pointed ears. Others were so strange that Jake could not figure out what parts were arms and what parts were legs. "Welcome, cadets, to the Galactic Defense Academy." The voice came from the front of the room. Jake looked and saw Villani standing behind a podium. This one was taller than the others, with silver hair and wearing a dark blue uniform covered in rank symbols. The creature's large black eyes seemed to look at every cadet at the same time. "I am Commander Thale," the Villani continued. His voice had a musical quality that made Jake want to keep listening. "For the next 4 years, this station will be your home. You will train together, learn together, and hopefully become the future leaders of our united defense forces." Commander Thale moved away from the podium and walked closer to the cadets. "Look around you. You see beings from dozens of worlds. Some of your species have been enemies in the past. Others have never met. before today, but here you are all the same. You are all cadets, you will succeed or fail together. Jake looked around the room again. Some of the alien cadets were staring at the humans with curiosity, others seemed to ignore them completely. A few looked unfriendly, especially the Drachneri. You will be divided into training squads of 8 cadets each, Commander Thale continued. Your squad will include members from different species. You will live together, train together, and graduate together. Or you will fail together. The commander stopped walking and his black eyes seemed to focus directly on Jake for a moment. Jake felt a strange tickle in his mind, like someone was gently touching his thoughts. The Academy has 3 simple rules, Commander Thale said. First, follow orders from your instructors without question. Second, help your squad mates succeed. Third, never use your full combat abilities against another cadet outside of supervised training. Break any of these rules and you will be sent home immediately. Jake wondered what full combat abilities meant for some of these species. The Drachneri looked like they could tear a human apart with their bare hands. Squad assignments will be posted in 30 minutes, the commander said. Use this time to introduce yourselves to cadets from other worlds, learn their names, learn their customs. You may find that beings who look very different from you have more in common with you than you think. The commander left the room, and immediately the cadets began moving around and talking. Jake stayed close to Lisa as they walked toward a group of mixed species near the center of the room. A young Drachneri noticed them approaching. He was smaller than the adult Drachneri Jake had seen, but still much larger than any human. His scales were lighter green, almost yellow, and his claws were shorter. But his eyes held the same fierce look that Jake had seen in pictures of Drachneri warriors. Humans, the young Drachneri said in heavily accented English. I am Vexstar of Clan Mordek. I have heard your species is new to Space War. That's right, Jake said, trying to sound confident. I'm Jake Morrison. This is Lisa Parker. Vexstar looked Jake up and down like he was examining a piece of equipment. You look soft, weak. How did your people defeat the raider fleets? Jake felt his face getting red, but he tried to stay calm. We had good ships and better tactics. Tactics. Vexstar repeated the word like it tasted bad. Drachneri win through strength and honor. Not hiding behind machines. Before Jake could respond, a new voice joined the conversation. Tactics are tools, just like strength. They turned to see one of the insect-like Zephyrians approaching. This one was smaller than the others, with brighter colored shell sections and faster movements. I am Zara Kim of Hive 17, the Zephyrian said. Her voice sounded like music made by clicking sounds. Humans showed excellent tactical thinking against the raiders. Their ships were outnumbered 3-1, but they won through clever positioning and timing. Vexstar made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. Any species can get lucky once. Perhaps, Zara Kim said, but luck that wins battles. Is useful luck? Jake appreciated the support, but he could see that Vexstar did not like being contradicted. The young Drachneri's claws extended slightly from his fingertips, and his eyes narrowed. We will see, Vexstar said, looking directly at Jake. How useful human luck is when the real training begins. The Drachneri walked away, leaving Jake with an uncomfortable feeling in his stomach. He had expected the training to be hard, but he had not expected to make enemies on his first day. Do not worry about him, Zara Kim said. Drachneri always tests new species. If you show strength, he will respect you. And if I don't? Jake asked. The Zephyrian's compound eyes seemed to glitter with amusement. Then you should learn to run. Very fast. A chime sounded through the room, and screens on the walls lit up with squad assignments. Jake and Lisa hurried to find their names on the lists. Delta Squad, Lisa said, pointing at the screen. There we are, Jake read the names of his new squad mates. Besides himself and Lisa, there was Vexstar the Drachneri, Zara, Kim the Zephyrian, 2 Villani cadets named Elter and Yindal, a pale humanoid called Kren from somewhere called the Outer Rim, and someone named Alex Chun who was also human. Great, Jake muttered. I get to spend the next 4 years with the lizard who already hates me. It could be worse, Lisa said. How? He could hate both of us. Jake laughed despite his worry. Maybe the academy would not be so bad after all? He was about to find out. 3 months had passed since Jake Morrison first arrived at Kepler Station, and the Galactic Defense Academy had become his new home. The metal corridors no longer felt strange, and he could find his way to any training room without looking at the station maps. What still felt strange was how much everything had changed. Jake sat in the mess hall eating his breakfast with his Delta Squad teammates. The food was a mix of dishes from different worlds, though most of it was made to be safe for all species. To eat, Jake had gotten used to the blue protein bars and the fizzy drink that tasted like oranges mixed with metal. "Combat training in 30 minutes, said Alex Chun, the other human in their squad. Alex was from California and had joined the academy because his older brother was already serving in the Federation fleet. Think Instructor Garth will make us run the obstacle course again? Probably, Lisa Parker said from across the table. He seems to enjoy watching us sweat. Instructor Garth was a veteran Draknari who had fought in 3 different wars. He was even bigger than Vexstar, with scars covering his dark green scales and a voice that could shake the walls when he shouted. Jake had learned to respect the old warrior, but he still felt nervous every time Garth looked at him. Humans always complain about physical training, Vexstar said without looking up from his meal. The young Draknari was eating something that looked like raw meat mixed with purple vegetables. Your species is too weak for real combat. Jake felt his jaw tighten, but he had learned not to respond to every insult. Over the past 3 months, Vexstar had made it clear that he considered humans to be inferior to every other species at the academy. Nothing Jake did seemed to change the Draknari's opinion. Jake beat your time on the obstacle course last week, Zara Kim pointed out. The Zephyrian Cadet had become Jake's closest friend among the alien species. Her tactical mind and calm personality balanced out Vexstar's aggression. Lucky, Vexstar growled. Humans get lucky sometimes. 3 times in a row? Asked Delter, one of the Villani twins in their squad. The blue-skinned cadets rarely spoke, but when they did, everyone listened. That seems like more than luck. Vexstar's claws scraped against his metal food tray. We will see how lucky humans are when we face real enemies. Jake finished his meal and stood up. I'll see you all in the training room, he said. He needed some time alone before dealing with another session of Vexstar's hostility. As Jake walked through the corridors toward the training areas, he thought about how much his life had changed. 3 months ago, he was worried about whether he could keep up with alien cadets who seemed stronger and smarter than humans. Now he was consistently scoring in the top 10% of his class in almost every subject. The physical training had been the biggest surprise. Jake had expected to struggle against species that had evolved on different worlds with different gravity and environmental challenges. Instead, he found that his human body was adapting to the Academy's training faster than anyone had predicted. The obstacle courses that left some alien cadets exhausted barely made Jake breathe hard. His reaction times in combat simulations were faster than most of his classmates. Even his endurance seemed to be better than species that were supposed to. The natural warriors, Jake's instructors, had noticed too. Commander Thale had called him into his office twice to discuss his progress. The Villani commander seemed interested in how humans were adapting to military training, but Jake could not tell if that was good or bad. Jake Morrison. Jake turned and saw Instructor Garth approaching down the corridor. The massive Draknari had to duck slightly to avoid hitting his head on the ceiling panels. Yes, sir, Jake said, stopping and standing straight. Walk with me, Garth said. We need to discuss your performance. Jake fell into step beside the instructor, though he had to take 2 steps for every one of Garth's long strides. The Draknari led him toward the advanced training areas that were usually reserved for senior cadets. You have been here for 3 months, Garth said. How do you feel about your progress? I think I'm learning a lot, sir, Jake replied carefully. The training is challenging, but I'm keeping up. Garth made a sound that might have been amusement. Keeping up? Yes, that is one way to describe it. They stopped in front of a large window that looked out into one of the training rooms. Inside, Jake could see senior cadets practicing advanced combat techniques. Two Drachneri were fighting with powered staffs while a group of other species watched and took notes. "Tell me, Morrison," Garth said, "what do you know about Drachneri military history?" Jake thought about the lessons he had studied. "Your people have been warriors for thousands of years. You've won battles against species with better technology because of your fighting skills and tactical knowledge." "Correct. And what do you know about how we train our young warriors?" "You start training them as children. By the time they reach military age, they've been studying combat for most of their lives." Garth nodded. "Vexstar began combat training when he was 6 years old. He has been learning to fight for 12 years. His reflexes, his strength, his knowledge of weapons and tactics, all of it has been developed through constant practice." Jake wondered where this conversation was going. "Yes, sir." "You began training 3 months ago," Garth continued. "You had no previous military experience, no combat training, no knowledge of weapons or tactics beyond what your species uses for hunting animals." "That's right, sir." Garth turned to look directly at Jake. The Drachneri's yellow eyes were intense but not unfriendly. "So, explain to me how you are performing better than cadets who have been training their entire lives." Jake felt his face getting warm. "I don't know, sir. I just try to do my best." "Your best," Garth repeated. "In yesterday's combat simulation, you defeated 3 opponents in hand-to-hand combat. One of them was a Drachneri who had been training since childhood. Another was a Villani with telepathic abilities that should have given her a significant advantage. The third was a Zephyrian with reaction times that are supposed to be twice as fast as human normal. I got lucky, sir." "Stop saying that," Garth said sharply. "Luck does not account for consistent superior performance. You are not lucky, Morrison. You are dangerous." The word hung in the air between them. Jake did not know how to respond. "Your species evolved differently than ours," Garth continued. "Most of us developed on worlds where the biggest threats were other intelligent species. We learned to fight wars with weapons and tactics and organized armies. But your species developed on a world where everything was trying to kill you." Jake thought about Earth's history. Humans had survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and natural disasters that had wiped out thousands of other species. "Your bodies are designed for endurance," Garth said. "You can keep fighting when other species would collapse from exhaustion. Your minds are designed for quick thinking under pressure. You can adapt to new situations faster than most species. Can even understand what is happening." "What are you saying, sir?" "I am saying that your instructors are beginning to understand why the raider fleets feared your species. And I'm saying that not all of your fellow cadets are happy about this development." Garth gestured toward the training room where the senior cadets were still practicing. "Vexstar comes from a proud warrior lineage. His family has served in the Drachneri military for 20 generations. He has never been defeated in combat by someone his own age." "But I haven't defeated him," Jake said. "We've never really fought." "No, but you have surpassed him in every training exercise for the past month. His clan expects him to be the best warrior in his class. Instead, he is being outperformed by a species that most Drachneri consider to be soft and weak." Jake began to understand. He's embarrassed, worse than embarrassed. He's beginning to question everything he has been taught about combat and warfare. For a young Drachneri, that is a dangerous state of mind. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the senior cadets train. Jake could see the skill and precision in their movements, the result of years of dedicated practice. "What should I do?" Jake asked finally. "Be careful," Garth said. "And remember that not all challenges in this academy come from the training exercises." Before Jake could ask what that meant, the instructor walked away, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. 20 minutes later, Jake joined his squad in Training Room 7. The room was large and equipped with various obstacles, weapons, and training equipment. His teammates were already warming up, stretching, and preparing for whatever Instructor Garth had planned for them. "Today we will practice zero-gravity combat," Garth announced as he entered the room. Space battles often involve boarding enemy ships or fighting in damaged vessels where artificial gravity has failed. Jake had been looking forward to this training. The zero-gravity chambers were fun, like swimming through the air instead of water. But as they prepared to enter the chamber, he noticed Vexstar watching him more carefully than usual. The Draknari's yellow eyes held a look that Jake had not seen before. It was not just dislike or competition. It was something colder and more dangerous. Jake remembered Instructor Garth's warning about challenges that did not come from training exercises. He had a feeling he was about to discover what the old warrior had meant. The zero-gravity training had gone better than Jake Morrison could have hoped. While most of his squad mates struggled to control their movements in the weightless environment, Jake had moved through the chamber like he had been born in space. He completed the combat course in record time and helped 3 other cadets finish their objectives when they got stuck. That had been 2 weeks ago. And things had only gotten worse with Vexstar since then. Jake sat in his small dormitory room, trying to focus on his tactical studies homework. The room was barely large enough for a bed, a desk, and a storage locker, but it was his private space in the busy academy. Through his small window, he could see the stars and the occasional ship moving past the station. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Jake opened it to find Lisa Parker standing in the corridor, looking worried. "We need to talk," she said, glancing around to make sure no one else was listening. "Can I come in?" Jake stepped aside and let her enter. Lisa sat on the edge of his bed while Jake took the chair at his desk. "It's about Vexstar," Lisa said without waiting for him to ask. "I think he's planning something." "What do you mean?" "I was in the library doing research for our xenobiology class, and I heard him talking to some other Draknari cadets. They were speaking in their own language, but I recognized a few words from our basic alien languages course." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "What did you hear?" "Words like honor, challenge, and blood debt." "Jake, I think he's going to challenge you to some kind of formal fight." Jake leaned back in his chair. He had been expecting something like this, especially after Instructor Garth's warning. "Did you tell anyone?" "Who would I tell? The instructors?" "What would I say?" "That I think a Draknari cadet might want to fight a human cadet." "They'd probably say that's just normal competition between warriors." Lisa was right. The academy encouraged competitive training between cadets from different species. The instructors saw it as a way to build mutual respect and understanding. They would not understand that this was something more serious. "Maybe I should talk to him," Jake said. "Try to work things out." "I don't think that's a good idea. From what I've read about Draknari culture, once they decide someone is their enemy, talking just makes things worse. It makes them think you're weak." Jake stood up and walked to his window. Outside, he could see the lights of other ships and stations scattered across the darkness. Somewhere out there, humans were serving alongside aliens in the Federation fleet, working together to protect their worlds. But here in the academy, it felt like the old prejudices and conflicts were still very much alive. "There's something else," Lisa said quietly. Alex heard some of the senior cadets talking about betting pools. "They're taking bets on how long humans will last at the academy." "What do you mean?" "They think we're going to wash out. That we're not tough enough for real military service. Some of them are betting that none of the human cadets will make it through the first year." Jake turned away from the window. "How many humans have dropped out so far?" 3 out of 24 who started. "But Jake, that's not the point. The point is that if something happens to you, if Vexstar challenges you and you get hurt, it'll be used as proof that humans don't belong here." Jake understood what she was saying. He was not just representing himself anymore. Every human cadet's future at the academy might depend on how he handled this situation. "What do you think I should do?" Lisa stood up and walked to the door. "Be careful, and remember that you're not just fighting for yourself." After Lisa left, Jake tried to return to his studies, but he could not concentrate. He kept thinking about what she had said and about the look he had seen in Vexstar's eyes during training. The Draknari was planning something, and Jake had a feeling it was going to happen soon. The next morning brought an unexpected surprise. Instead of their normal training schedule, Delta Squad was assigned to a special joint exercise with two other squads. They would be working together on a simulated boarding action against a mock enemy ship. The exercise took place in one of the Academy's largest training facilities, a massive chamber that could be reconfigured to represent almost any type of spacecraft interior. Today it was set up to look like the inside of a raider cruiser, complete with narrow corridors, emergency lighting, and artificial gravity that could be turned on and off at random intervals. Jake found himself assigned to the same assault team. As Vexstar and Zara Kim, their objective was to reach the ship's bridge and disable the enemy command systems while other teams secured the engine room and weapons systems. "Remember," said Instructor Garth as he briefed the teams, "this is a live exercise. You will be using training weapons that can cause pain and temporary paralysis, but no permanent damage. However, the danger is real. Move carefully, watch your teammates, and follow your training." The teams entered the mock ship through different airlocks. Jake's team moved through the cramped corridors in single file, with Vexstar in the lead and Jake bringing up the rear. Zara Kim was in the middle, using her enhanced senses to watch for enemy defenders. The first part of the exercise went well. They encountered several automated defense systems and holographic enemies, which they defeated using the tactics they had learned in class. Jake's quick reflexes and Vexstar's combat skills worked well together, and Zara Kim's tactical advice kept them from walking into any traps, but as they approached the bridge section of the mock ship, things began to go wrong. They were moving through a narrow corridor when the lights suddenly went out and the artificial gravity shut off. This was a normal part of the exercise, meant to simulate battle damage to the ship's systems. But in the darkness, Jake heard Vexstar make a sound that was not quite a growl and not quite a word. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting strange shadows throughout the corridor. In the red glow, Jake could see that they had drifted apart. In the zero gravity, he was near the ceiling, Zara Kim was floating near the floor, and Vexstar was somewhere in the middle. That was when Jake noticed that Vexstar's training weapon was not pointed toward the enemy positions ahead of them. It was pointed directly at Jake. "Vexstar," Jake said carefully, "your weapon is pointing the wrong way." The Draknari's yellow eyes glowed in the emergency lighting. "No, human. It is pointed exactly where I want it." Zara Kim clicked her mandibles, and what Jake had learned was a sign of alarm. "Vexstar, what are you doing? This is a training exercise." "This is more than training," Vexstar said. His voice was calm, but Jake could hear the anger underneath it. "This is about honor, about proving who deserves to be here." Jake tried to think of a way out of the situation. They were in zero gravity, in a narrow corridor with no way to call for help. The instructors were monitoring the exercise, but they would be watching for tactical performance, not for conflicts between teammates. "You don't want to do this?" Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "If you attack me during a training exercise, you'll be thrown out of the academy." "I will say it was an accident," Vexstar replied. "Equipment malfunction. Happens all the time in zero-gravity training." "The instructors will know," Zara Kim said. "They record everything." "Recording equipment malfunctions too," Vexstar said, "especially in combat situations." Jake realized that the Draknari had planned this carefully. He had probably been waiting for an opportunity like this, when they would be alone and the situation would be confused enough to provide cover for an attack. "Why?" Jake asked. "What did I do to you?" Vexstar's claws extended from his fingertips. Even in the zero gravity, Jake could see the sharp points gleaming in the red light. "You exist," Vexstar said. "You and your soft, weak species, you should not be here. You should not be able to do what you do. It is wrong." "Wrong how?" "I have trained my entire life to be a warrior. My family has produced warriors for 20 generations. I know every fighting technique, every tactical principle, every strategic concept that has ever been developed by my people. And yet, in 3 months, you have surpassed me in almost every area." Jake began to understand. This was not really about him personally. It was about everything Vexstar had been taught about combat and superiority and what it meant to be a warrior. "That doesn't mean you're not a good fighter," Jake said. It just means that different species have different strengths. Lies, Vexstar snarled. Soft human lies. There is only strength and weakness, victory and defeat, honor and shame. The Draknari began to move closer in the zero gravity, using his claws to pull himself along the corridor walls. His training weapon was still pointed at Jake, but Jake could see that Vexstar's real claws were extended and ready. Vexstar, stop, Zara Kim said. This is not the way. This is the only way, Vexstar replied. Challenge, combat, let the strongest survive. Jake realized that talking was not going to work. Vexstar had made up his mind, and nothing Jake could say would change it. The Draknari was going to attack, and Jake would have to defend himself, but Jake also realized something else. They were not in a training room with padded walls and safety equipment. They were in a mock combat environment with hard surfaces and sharp edges. If they fought here, in zero gravity, one of them could be seriously hurt or killed. If you want to fight? Me, Jake said, then let's do it properly. Not here, not like this. 5 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison first met Vexstar, and the young Draknari's hostility had grown from simple dislike to something much more dangerous. Jake could feel the warrior's yellow eyes watching him during every training session. Every meal, every moment they shared the same space. The breaking point came during a zero-gravity rescue exercise. Jake's team had been assigned to save mock casualties from a damaged ship simulator. The exercise required speed, precision, and teamwork. Jake had performed perfectly, reaching the casualties faster than any other cadet and guiding them to safety with smooth, controlled movements. But when the exercise ended, Vexstar had cornered Jake in the equipment room. How? The Draknari had demanded, his claws scraping against the metal wall. How does a weak human move like that in zero gravity? Training, Jake had replied simply. Same as everyone else. Lies, I have trained in zero gravity since I was a child. My people have been warriors in space for 1,000 years. Yet you move like you were born among the stars. Jake had tried to walk away, but Vexstar blocked his path. The Draknari was bigger, stronger, and clearly angry enough to do something stupid. Maybe different species are just good at different things, Jake said, keeping his voice calm. Or maybe, Vexstar said, stepping closer, your species uses technology to cheat. Hidden devices, chemical enhancements, something to make you appear stronger than you really are. That accusation had stung. Jake worked hard for every achievement, every good score, every successful training exercise. To have it dismissed as cheating was insulting. You want to know why I'm good at zero gravity? Jake said, his own anger starting to show. Because humans are natural climbers. We spent thousands of years climbing trees and cliffs and mountains. Moving in 3 dimensions is natural for us. Natural, Vexstar repeated, making the word sound like a curse. Nothing about humans is natural. You are weak, soft, you should not even be here. That conversation had happened 3 days ago, and Jake knew something was building toward a confrontation. Lisa Parker had warned him that she heard Draknari cadets talking about honor challenges. Alex Chun had noticed that other alien cadets were starting to watch Jake more carefully, like they were waiting for something to happen tonight. Jake sat alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars and trying to think. The deck was usually empty during the evening hours, which made it a good place to find some peace. But as he watched the distant lights of passing ships, he heard footsteps behind him. Jake turned to see Zara Kim approaching. The Zephyrian moved with her usual quiet grace, her compound eyes reflecting the starlight from the windows. You look troubled, Jake Morrison, she said, settling into a chair beside him. Just thinking, Jake replied. How are your tactical studies? Going very well, but I did not come here to discuss academics. Zara Kim's mandibles clicked softly, which Jake had learned meant she was concerned about something. I came to warn you. About what? Vexstar has been meeting with older Draknari cadets. They have been teaching him about something called the Warrior's Path. It is an ancient tradition that allows a Draknari to challenge another being to single combat if they believe their honor has been insulted. Jake felt his stomach tighten. What kind of single combat? The traditional form requires no weapons or armor, just natural abilities. The fight continues until one opponent yields or is unable to continue, or dies. That is also possible, though the Academy would never officially allow such a thing. Zara Kim's eyes seemed to study Jake's face. However, accidents can happen during training exercises. Jake understood what she was telling him. Vexstar was planning to challenge him, and the Draknari might be willing to make it look like an accident if things went too far. When do you think this will happen? Soon. Vexstar's pride will not allow him to wait much longer. Every day that passes with you outperforming him makes the insult to his honor grow larger. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Jake thought about his options. He could report Vexstar to the instructors, but that would require him to explain that he felt threatened by another cadet. In a military academy where toughness was valued above everything else, that could hurt his reputation and make him look weak. He could try to avoid Vexstar, but they were in the same squad and attended the same classes. There was no way to completely stay away from the angry Draknari, or he could face the challenge when it came and hope that his training and natural abilities would be enough to survive. What would you do? Jake asked Zara Kim. I would remember that Draknari respects strength and directness above all else. If you show fear or try to avoid the confrontation, Vexstar will see it as proof that humans are weak. But if you face him with courage, even if you lose, you might earn his respect. And if I win, then you will have proven that humans belong. Here, not just to Vexstar, but to every cadet in the academy. Jake knew she was right. This was not just about him and Vexstar anymore. It was about whether humans would be accepted as equals in the Galactic Federation's military. Everything he had worked for, everything his species hoped to achieve in space, might depend on what happened in the next few days. The next morning brought news that changed everything. During breakfast, Commander Thale announced that the Academy would be hosting a special demonstration for visiting dignitaries from the Federation Council. Senior cadets would show off their advanced combat skills, and selected junior cadets would participate in live training exercises. Jake was not surprised when his name appeared on the list of participants. What did surprise him was the type of exercise he was assigned to. Individual combat demonstration in Gymnasium 7. After breakfast, Jake found Vexstar waiting for him outside the mess hall. The Draknari's yellow eyes held a look of grim satisfaction. It seems the instructors have given us the perfect opportunity, Vexstar said quietly. Tomorrow evening, during the demonstration, we will settle this matter once and for all. I didn't ask for this, Jake said. No, but you will not refuse it either. Not unless you want every being in the academy to know that humans are cowards as well as weaklings. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. What exactly are you proposing? A simple sparring match during the demonstration. Hand-to-hand combat, no weapons, no protective gear. The visiting dignitaries will see what real warriors look like. And the instructors will see 2 dedicated cadets showing off their training, nothing more. Vexstar's claws extended slightly from his fingertips, unless you are afraid to face a real opponent. Jake knew this was the moment of truth. If he refused, word would spread throughout the academy that the humans were afraid to fight. Every achievement he had earned would be dismissed as luck or cheating. But if he accepted, he would be facing one of the most dangerous young warriors in the galaxy in what amounted to a duel to the death. Fine, Jake said. Tomorrow evening, Gymnasium 7. Vexstar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Excellent. I will make sure the match is memorable. As the Draknari walked away, Jake realized that he had just agreed to something that could end his career at the academy, his dreams of serving in the Federation fleet, and possibly his life. But he had also realized something else. He was not afraid. Growing up on a ranch in Colorado, Jake had learned that some fights could not be avoided. When a predator threatened the livestock, you did not run away or try to negotiate. You faced the threat head-on and dealt with it as quickly and efficiently as possible. Tomorrow evening, Jake Morrison would find out if those lessons from Earth would be enough to survive against a warrior trained from birth to kill. after Lisa left. Jake tried to return to his studies, but he could not concentrate. He kept thinking about what she had said and about the look he had seen in Vextar's eyes during training. The Draknari was planning something, and Jake had a feeling it was going to happen soon. The next morning brought an unexpected surprise. Instead of their normal training schedule, Delta Squad was assigned to a special joint exercise with 2 other squads. They would be working together on a simulated boarding action against a mock enemy ship. The exercise took place in one of the Academy's largest training facilities, a massive chamber that could be reconfigured to represent almost any type of spacecraft interior. Today it was set up to look like the inside of a raider cruiser, complete with narrow corridors, emergency lighting, and artificial gravity that could be turned on and off at random intervals. Jake found himself assigned to the same assault team as Vextar and Zara Kim. Their objective was to reach the ship's bridge and disable the enemy command systems while other teams secured the engine room and weapons systems. "Remember," said Instructor Garth as he briefed the teams, "this is a live exercise. You will be using training weapons that can cause pain and temporary paralysis, but no permanent damage. However, the danger is real. Move carefully, watch your teammates, and follow your training." The teams entered the mock ship through different airlocks. Jake's team moved through the cramped corridors in single file, with Vextar in the lead and Jake bringing up the rear. Zara Kim was in the middle, using her enhanced senses to watch for enemy defenders. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment and the occasional footsteps of staff members moving between patients. Jake Morrison sat on the edge of an examination bed while a Villani doctor checked him for injuries. The doctor's 4 slender arms moved with practiced efficiency, scanning Jake's body with various medical devices. "No damage at all," the doctor said in her musical voice. "Not even elevated stress indicators. Remarkable for someone who just experienced combat." "I feel fine," Jake said, though that was not entirely true. His body felt fine, but his mind was still processing what had happened in the gymnasium 2 hours earlier. "You may go," the doctor said, "but please return if you experience any delayed reactions to the fight." Jake left the medical bay and walked through the corridors of Kepler Station. Word of his victory over Vextar had spread quickly and everywhere. He went. Other cadets stopped their conversations to stare at him. Some looked impressed, others looked suspicious, and a few looked afraid. He found Lisa Parker and Alex Chun waiting for him in the mess hall, along with several other human cadets who had rushed over after hearing the news. "Jake!" Lisa stood up as he approached their table. "Are you okay? We saw them take you to medical." "Just a standard check," Jake said, sitting down with his friends. "The doctor said I'm fine." "Fine?" said Alex. "You just beat a Draknari warrior in 3 seconds. That's more than fine. That's incredible." The other human cadets at the table were looking at Jake like he had grown a second head. Sarah Williams, a cadet from Texas, spoke up first. "How did you do it?" "I mean, Vextar is twice your size and has been training to fight since he was a child." Jake thought about how to explain what had happened. "I just used what they taught us in training. When someone attacks you, you use their momentum against them." "But the speed," said Tom Baker, another human cadet. "I've never seen anyone move that fast." "Adrenaline, I guess," Jake said, though he was not sure that was the complete answer, before anyone could ask more questions. Commander Thale approached their table. The Villani commander's large black eyes focused on Jake. "Cadet Morrison, please come with me. The Federation Council representatives would like to speak with you." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Am I in trouble, sir?" "On the contrary, they are very interested in what happened tonight." Jake followed Commander Thale through the station to a conference room he had never seen before. Inside, several beings in expensive-looking uniforms sat around a curved table. Jake recognized a few of the species, but others were completely alien to him. "Cadet Morrison," Commander Thale said, "please meet Admiral Kareth of the Draknari High Command, General Yin of the Villani Defense Corps, and Hive Mother Zex of the Zephyrian Strategic Council." Jake tried not to show his nervousness as he looked at some of the most powerful military leaders in the galaxy. Admiral Kareth was the largest Draknari Jake had ever seen, with dark red scales and scars covering his arms and face. General Yin was elderly for a Vellani, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to look right through him. Hive Mother Zex was massive even for a Zephyrion, with compound eyes that reflected the room's lights like jewels. "Sit down, young human," Admiral Kareth said in a voice like grinding stone. "We have questions about your performance tonight." Jake took the empty chair across from the officials. "Yes, sir. First question," General Yin said. "Have you received any combat training beyond what is provided at this academy?" "No, sir. Just what I learned here over the past few months." "No military service on your home world?" "No special programs." "Or enhancements?" "No, sir. Before coming here, I worked on my family's ranch in Colorado." The three officials exchanged glances. Hive Mother Zex leaned forward, her mandibles clicking softly. "Cadet Morrison, we have reviewed the video recordings of your fight multiple times. The speed and precision of your movements suggest combat experience far beyond what a few months of training should provide." Jake was not sure how to respond. "I just did what felt natural, ma'am." "Natural," Admiral Kareth repeated. "Tell me, what do you know about your species' evolution?" "Some things. We evolved from hunters and gatherers. We had to survive against larger predators and harsh environments." "Indeed, and what kind of hunting did your ancestors do?" Jake thought about the history he had learned in school. "Persistence. Hunting, mostly. We would chase prey animals until they collapsed from exhaustion." "For how long?" General Yin asked. "Sometimes for days." The officials exchanged more glances. Admiral Kareth leaned back in his chair. "Cadet Morrison, most species in the galaxy evolved as either predators or prey. Predators developed strength and speed for short bursts of violence. Prey species developed intelligence and technology to avoid combat entirely. But your species evolved as something different." "What do you mean?" "Endurance predators, Hive Mother," Zex explained. "Your ancestors could not outrun or overpower their prey, so they developed the ability to never give up. To keep fighting, keep moving, keep thinking under pressure until their opponents collapsed." Jake began to understand what they were telling him. "You think that's why I won tonight?" "We think," General Yin said, "that when you were threatened, your body activated systems that most species only use in life or death situations. Your reaction time increased, your strength increased, your mental processing speed increased. But unlike other species, you did not lose control or become reckless. The result," Admiral Kareth said, "was a level of combat effectiveness that impressed even experienced warriors." Commander Thale, who had been standing quietly by the door, spoke up. "The Federation Council is concerned about the implications of this discovery." "Concerned how?" Jake asked. "Your species has only been members of the Federation for 2 years," Hive Mother Zex said. "Yet tonight you demonstrated combat abilities that exceed many of our veteran warriors. The question is, what else can humans do that we do not know about?" Jake felt uncomfortable being discussed like he was a weapon instead of a person. "We're not trying to hide anything. We just want to serve alongside other Federation species." "And, You will," Admiral Kareth said. "But tonight has changed how we view your species' military potential." General Yin activated a holographic display that showed star charts and fleet positions. "We are facing new threats at the edge of Federation space. Hostile species with advanced technology and aggressive tactics. We have been struggling to find effective countermeasures." "What does that have to do with me?" "Your performance tonight suggests that humans might be naturally suited for the kind of combat these enemies prefer," Hive Mother Zex explained. "Close quarters fighting, boarding actions, situations where technology is less important than individual skill and endurance." Admiral Kareth leaned forward. "We want to accelerate the human integration program. Instead of the gradual introduction we had planned, we want to fast-track human cadets into advanced training and active duty positions." Jake thought about what this meant for his fellow humans. What about the other species? Will they accept humans in leadership positions so quickly? "After tonight, I do not think acceptance will be a problem," General Yin said with what might have been amusement. There is one more thing, Commander Thale said. Cadet Vexstar has asked to speak with you. 20 minutes later, Jake found himself back in the medical bay, standing beside the bed where Vexstar was recovering from his broken arm. The young Draknari looked smaller somehow, less threatening than he had during their months of conflict. Human, Vexstar said quietly, I owe you an apology. You don't need to apologize for fighting, it's what warriors do. No, I apologize for not recognizing you as a true warrior sooner. Vexstar struggled to sit up straighter. In my culture, strength is proven through combat. Tonight you proved your strength. I didn't want to hurt you, Jake said. I just wanted to defend myself. That makes the victory more impressive, not less. Vexstar managed a weak smile. You defeated me while holding back. A true warrior shows mercy to defeated opponents. Jake was not sure what to say. For months, Vexstar had been his biggest problem. At the academy, now the Draknari was treating him with respect. I would like to make a request, Vexstar continued. When you become a squad leader, I want to serve under your command. Why? Because tonight I learned that there are different kinds of strength. Physical power is only one type. You have the strength to remain calm under pressure, to think clearly during combat, to show mercy to enemies. These are the qualities of a true leader. Jake left the medical bay with his head spinning. In one evening, everything had changed. He was no longer just another cadet trying to prove himself worthy of the academy. He was now seen as a representative of human military potential, a symbol of what his species could contribute to the Federation. But as he walked back to his dormitory, Jake realized that the real victory was not defeating Vexstar in combat. The real victory was earning the respect of beings from across the galaxy and showing them that humans belonged among the stars. 2 weeks later, Jake received his promotion to squad leader, making him the youngest cadet ever to reach that rank. His new squad included Vexstar, who had recovered from his injury and requested the transfer. Also in the squad were Zara Kim, Lisa Parker, and 3 other cadets from different species.